thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to be here as a, of course, representative of the United Nations in Geneva, with a global perspective on discussion that we're having today, but also what we hope as a representative of what we call forward-looking multilateralism. Because in the end of the day, we are talking about a lot of the problems that we're talking about are problems that we can't solve on our own. These are problems we have to solve in solidarity. You mentioned the word Ubuntu, and I think this aspect of working together is very key to what I'm going to talk about today. I did prepare a couple of talking points, but now listening to the conversation just before, maybe I skip them and I take it a bit more free flow, if that's okay. I should have some slides. Green was forward going, right? I talk a lot about innovation, but I'm really not a techie. My husband is, so that's a good thing. So yeah, welcome to this couple of minutes with the SDG Lab. What are we trying to do at the lab? And you will see how that connects really discussion today. We're really thinking about how we can transform sustainability, not only for today, but also tomorrow, and how tomorrow links back to today. What do we mean by that? There's a picture I've seen, and very happy to see it, of course, the cubes that are just here on the SDGs. I think it's amazing that also the business community as a global or public policy maker to see this being adopted more widely as a framework, as a compass, so to speak. And this is really what this slide reflects. So we have a couple of more years to go, right, to 2030, which we have set as a target. And I'm not going to talk about the 17 goals. I think I can remember them by heart, although I am the director of the SDG Lab, but that doesn't really matter, I guess, and neither the 169 targets. That's even more complicated. But I think what I would like to emphasize at this point, nevertheless, is a couple of principles that are really underlining this very important Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. It's universal. So all of us are touched by it. It's not just about governments or public policy makers or those kind of being, at the center of thinking about these things, but it's really about everyone. It's about leaving no one behind. So we had, a very important conversation on equity, inclusivity. So that's really at the heart of the SDGs, as you know. It's about transformation, and I want to be really bold at this point, transforming not only our daily lives, but really the systems. And I think what I would like you to invite is to keep in mind that we can learn, unlearn, and learn again. And you will see why I'm saying this. And then, of course, about the integration, the integrated nature of the SDGs, the 17 goals, but really as a global compact for positive change. And very important, it's a system, it's a very complex system, which brings me to my next slide. And this is actually why I'm here today. And again, thanks so much for having the lab. We are a lab, so it's really a place to experiment. It's to think about not only the SDGs, not only 2030, but really thinking about the beyonds, right? Because sustainability is about how we transform our lives, so it's more aligned with the boundaries that we're living in as humans, as part of a bigger ecosystem, which is Earth. The planet, so to speak. So when you look at it just from a historic point of view, very quickly here, this snapshot, I haven't done this invented, so you can see the source for those interested at the very bottom there. Today we are in between the last and the middle circle, if that makes sense. But we have started with conventional sustainability, so that's really the origin of the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals, for those who can remember that. That was the starting point in 2015. It was about understanding that we need the intergovernmental framework to guide, again, global society to do something about our changing environment, to do something about our changing societies, and to do something about becoming economically more inclusive and more sustainable. But that particular view, which we call the conventional view, was very much focused and centered around the economic development paradigm. It's about growing, more growth, and more growth. And also about sort of a mechanic, so it's a bit of a machine type of thing that we're looking at today. Then we evolved, at least from a global policy community point of view, into what I would argue defines the today. So it's about the contemporary sustainability, right? So here we're getting better here, really much, much better. We're talking about systems already. We're talking about integration. We're understanding that things are connected. But still, what we haven't, I think, recognized enough, and this is where we are now, the focus of this discussion today, where are we going from here? So we have set 2030 as a benchmark, but to understand, in fact, the problems we are trying to solve is also to understand that the nature of the problem that we're trying to address. And I think the interesting thing that research is showing more and more is, in fact, we're talking about complex problems. So when you do, for those that are familiar with a bit chaos theory, when you do, manipulate one part of the system, you don't really quite know how the whole system is going to work out. In fact, and this is, if I may say, when you look at the right side of things, why 17 goals, right? Because 17 goals, some of you might maybe ask yourself, reflect some sort of a siloed thinking, which is true, but also remember that the SDGs themselves, they were a product of intergovernmentally agreed, so to speak, pact. And imagine a rule full of, imagine you being policymakers and trying to sort of come to agreement between yourselves. It's not that easy. So think about it from that perspective, but we have to go really beyond that. So we started with the MDGs. We have, achieved the SDGs in terms of the commitment to it, not on the implementation side, don't get me wrong, we're working on that with all the very interesting initiatives that we have been listening to and talking about today. But where are we going from here? What are the SDGs ++? So let me reiterate this. I'm not trying to say that we have to get rid of the SDGs at this point, but what I'm trying to understand from you, or would like you to maybe also sort of understand, is we have to build on them, but we have to be more critical. We have to see the complementarities that may be missing on the SDGs. Which brings me to my second and almost final slide, I would say. So here today, what I've been listening to with all the different and very interesting entrepreneurs doing these amazing things about water, about health and all of that, is we're really in the implementation phase of it. We're looking for new solutions. And that's really for Force On. It is about amplifying those innovation practices. And it is really about understanding how we can push more of these enablers of change. But I think what is important is that while we're thinking about evolving sustainability, where do we go? It is going back to regeneration. It is about maybe understanding how the next level of sustainability could look like. And, I thought I wouldn't need 8 minutes, but I'm running behind. And I just wanted to maybe close by saying, you said it on making visible what is not visible. And this is my last point on the future generations. And I think this is where I would like to invite you to think beyond, if that's okay. Imagine today's society as a company, and imagine those yet to be born as your shareholders. How would you design systems at this point? Would you be on the extractive side and actually say, I'm going to keep on doing things the way it is? Or would you actually be on the unlearning and learning part again and say, we need to actually think about systems that are much more aligned with the boundaries we are in? I wonder how that response will look like, and I look forward actually to discussing this maybe next year when we're back at this showcase. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Sorry, I'm not done. I'm skipping this. We have an event for those who are interested, I should say this, at Geneva. So we are based in Geneva, but we are part of the Lac Le Mans region. And please come and see us. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. Before you go, just real quick, does anyone have a question for Özge while she's here? Anyone with a question? We got microphones in the audience. No? In that case, please stick around afterwards and see her during the networking. Let's give it up for Özge again.